Hi there, I'm with Craig Erlam, market analyst for ALPARI UK and regular contributor to BBC News, Financial Times, amongst others. So Craig, you had a seminar on earlier. Can you give us a sort of a brief recap of the main points in your seminar?
Yeah, I mean the main point of the seminar was just saying that we've got this financial crisis we're in at the moment. It's a lot different now than compared to what it was, say, a year ago or even the year before. And what I was just basically trying to say is we need to slightly adapt our trading strategies if we want to remain profitable throughout the financial crisis. Over the last 12 months, for example, we didn't have too much volatility. Okay. And there was also that people were favouring sentiment analysis as opposed to, say, fundamental or technical analysis. We saw, especially in the second half of last year, we saw people favouring the euro in times of when we probably read about a lot when it was risk on or whether it was risk off. If it was risk off, they favoured things like the yen and the dollar, but when you saw risk on, they favoured the euro. And this was irrelevant of the news. When we saw better than expected non-farm payrolls in the US, we actually saw the euro rallying and the dollar actually pulling back. So people were really favouring that last year, and if you were aware of that, if you were on top of that, then it would really have benefited your trading. There's a lot of people who would have then seen the better non-farm payrolls and bought the dollar, and obviously that would have worked quite badly against them. My point in this seminar was the fact that we have evolved again. We've moved from a sentiment-based market to a fundamental-based market again. So now we saw just use that example again, the non-farm payrolls. We saw those doing slightly better early in the year, and also we've got the dollar rallying again because we're moving more focused on fundamentals now since the end of the year, where we had so many key events work in favour, suggest that we're coming towards the end of this crisis. We had the Greek bailout, the Spanish bailout, the fiscal cliff, as you well know, and the single supervisory mechanism with the ECB taking governing control over all the banks in the Eurozone. So these major events have really forced this shift from sentiment to fundamentals again, and they're just making people aware that you really need to be aware of what's going on in the markets fundamentally in order to make sure that you can remain a profitable trader.
Okay, and in regards to the euro, now I mean it's with sort of like weak data coming out from there and sort of problems in Italy with sort of like the political tension and that, are we likely, I mean there were times when they were thinking, oh, it's going to be a recovery. Will there be a recovery in the near term, or is it going to reverse its gains against the dollar?
I think there will be a recovery, maybe not so much in the near term. We had the growth forecasts only a couple of months ago, especially from the ECB, who were pointing to later on this year, but they immediately mentioned the second half of this year. That was then put back to later this year, and the EU growth forecast actually came out today to show that the EU economy is actually going to contract in 2013, and the recovery is now only going to start in 2014. So it is a bit more negative in the near term, but again, I think we can start to see that light at the end of the tunnel now. We are seeing the benefits, we're seeing the better business and consumer surveys out the Eurozone. We're seeing Italy and Spain start to pick up. Obviously, we're not seeing that reflected in the GDP figures yet, but sentiment as a whole is starting to improve there. And I think overall, I think the feeling is that we're moving through this financial crisis now, and I do see a lot more upside towards the end of the year now for the euro. I think we're going to see it fall slightly now, especially against the dollar, probably falling back to around 129. But I think in the longer term, I think even by the end of the year, we could see it push up towards that 142 area. So I think the longer term outlook for the next 12 to 18 months is quite positive for the euro.
Okay, and in regards to sterling, now with Bank of England Governor Mervyn King voting but being outvoted to increase stimulus, are we likely to see that in the next meeting, Bank of England meeting? Do you think there will be added stimulus or rate cut?
Probably not. Well, maybe not the next meeting. I mean, it was much closer to voting this time. It was 6-3 in favour of no more stimulus. I don't think we're going to see a rate cut. I think it's going to be focused broadly now on additional QE. I think we could even see a rate cut when Mark Carney comes in on the 1st of July in the 6 months following that. But for now, I think it's going to be really focused on additional QE. Now, whether the three members who voted in favour can persuade the other 6 members, or at least 2 of them, in order to vote in favour of it in the next occasion, I'm not so sure. We may see maybe a 5-4 vote. Again, much closer, again, much more positive. But personally, I think at this moment in time, I'm maybe looking at April before we actually do see any additional stimulus. Okay,
and with talks of sort of currency war with the dollar yen, is the yen going to sort of keep going down? Are we likely to see that?
Absolutely. I think there's only one direction still for the yen. I think we've seen this period of consolidation now. Just briefly, while we wait to see who the new Bank of Japan governor is going to be, there's obviously the current Bank of Japan governor is resigning in March, and it's down to Shinzo Abe, the current Prime Minister, to pick the new Bank of Japan governor and his 2 deputies. Now, given how dovish Shinzo Abe has been in the media to this point, pushing that 2% inflation target, pushing more aggressive monetary policy, I can't see him choosing anything other than a dovish new Bank of Japan governor, and it's just going to be a case of now how aggressive he's going to be. I think we've seen that brief pause while we wait to see who it's going to be, and then we are going to see the yen continue to slide. But how far it slides, I think, is going to be dependent now on the next pick as Bank of Japan governor. I think what we actually are going to see is we've seen that the Bank of Japan have actually said that they're going to start this open-ended bond bank program in January, and when we see that new Bank of Japan governor come in March or April, I think they're actually probably going to bring that forward to around June time, and that's when we're really going to see the yen start to slide again.
Okay, well, Craig, thank you very much.